You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging out with you guys, and let's just jump right into it. Guys, on today's episode, I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a homework assignment. Can you believe that? I'm not really big ones for marching orders or trying to tell people what to do with their life or their business, anything like that. However, here's what I'm doing the last couple weeks and over the next few weeks as we wrap up the end of 2020. What I wanted to do for just a few minutes is talk to you guys about important end of year conversations that you should be having before you wrap up 2020. So I got a lot of good thoughts here that I wrote down. I actually also did a phone a friend, and I asked my friend Mike Bedell. I said, hey, you're a prepare kind of a person. You're very organized. You're very structured. Give me your best 2 or 3 different topics as well that are end of year conversations that you should be having. What's your opinion and your final thoughts? And so he also sent me a couple good ones that we're going to reveal to you guys here at the end. So let's do this really quick. We're actually shooting this podcast real time. It is the weekend for me, trying to put this podcast together to make sure that we have it available for you guys bright and early Monday morning. And as we go into Monday, Tuesday, if you guys are listening to this podcast in real time, just wanted to let you guys know of a quick note, quick sponsor opportunity with some different products that are available for you guys right now on sale, exclusive to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast and Brian's Lawn Maintenance. A lot of you guys know the IsoTunes products, and some of you guys have already seen my community post on YouTube. Some of you guys have seen my email go out from Launchpreneur Academy. Just trying to spread the word here a little bit for you guys. If you guys are listening to this podcast on earbuds or headphones, let me ask you this or evaluate how they're working for you. IsoTunes right now has an exclusive sale going on for just our fans, our followers, our following, that you can get a buy one, get one sale for the IsoTunes Matte Black 1.0s. So it is a buy one, get one. So instead of them being like $69 for just one pair, you can now get a BOGO, buy one, get one for free. How cool is that? So if you guys want to take advantage of that, the promo code that you got to enter into the shopping cart at checkout is Brian's BOGO, BRIANS, BOGO, BOGO. And again, that is for the IsoTunes 1.0s in the matte black. They don't work on the orange ones, just the matte black. So we'll make sure to leave that link in the show notes. And then if you guys want to support, that is a great way to do it. We super appreciate the affiliates and we super appreciate the sponsors bringing you guys the show. And that is a huge, huge promotion. For real, that is the best promotion that I see IsoTunes do all year, a buy one, get one. So we use the IsoTunes Pro during the summer. I love those. I use the head cans, the IsoTunes Links in the fall. It's just easier for us when we're trying to, shuttle around and do leaf cleanups and coordinate with each other a bunch. But you know what? Here, we're going into the holidays. If you guys want to take advantage of this sale on Monday or Tuesday, real time, get these in, give them to your favorite subcontractor, give them to one of your employees. They make great stocking stuffers. Hey, if you want, just send this podcast to your wife or your spouse or maybe your husband and say, hey, I want some IsoTunes for Christmas, and then just timestamp it at the 2-minute mark, and then I'll do all the selling for them, right? But they do. They're for $69 or $70, great stocking stuffer for friends, your employees, maybe another business owner, maybe another lawn bro. Hook somebody up this holiday season, right? But if not, get some for you and then have a backup pair as you guys go into spring 2021. So that being said, just wanted to make that quick announcement. That sale is going to end Tuesday night at midnight, real time. I think that is like December 8th, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So, all right, guys, all that being said, let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer. He's going to bring you guys the latest and greatest with the show, and then we'll come right on back.
Expedite your productivity. Introducing CartMate Pro and RS by Dawson Manufacturing. This industry-leading front-mounted zero-turn articulating cart mounts to the front of the mower you already own, making you more profitable. With the ability to move mulch, leaves, dirt, and much, much more 2 to 3 times faster and dump your load effortlessly, you'll increase productivity while reducing labor costs. What could you do with the extra time? I'm sure your wife has an idea. Order your CartMate Pro today at mulchmateusa.com and never wheelbarrow again. That's mulchmateusa.com or text LaborSaver to 31996. That's LaborSaver to 31996 for exclusive deals, info, and maybe even some freebies. Normal text messaging rates apply.
Ratings and reviews. Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
We are officially in the holidays. You could send Brian a Christmas card and thank him for all the actionable content, but who's got time for that? And I even heard on one of his videos, maybe it was a podcast, where he admits to only checking his P.O. box once or twice a month. So that's not a very good idea. Hey, instead, why not go on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, 5-star rating, and a well-worded review. Davey Frankie writes, I can't believe someone who's running their own business, married, and growing in so many different ways takes time to deeply analyze what he has learned and share it all for free. Brian, you are above generous with your time and your knowledge. Thank you so much. Vin writes, Brian is bringing all the landscaping community together to help each other with their goals. He's a mastermind because he knows when you help somebody that you're going to get it back double. Thanks for all the help that you've provided me in my business. I know that we are going to the next level. Congratulations on the podcast. What a success. Finally, Parks tells us, love the podcast. Tons of information, very relatable. I am motivated, motivated to keep working and streamlining my systems so that I can kick butt. Keep it up, Brian. I hope everybody shares the podcast to keep it growing. Hey, I want to share your review next, but I can't unless you leave us one. And in all honesty, try to entertain us a little.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
All right, good deal, guys. Well, let's rock and roll. Let's just jump right into it. These are end-of-year conversations that I'm encouraging you guys to have, and we're going to go through a couple different ones here. We're going to talk about end-of-year conversations that you should be having with your CPA, end-of-year conversations you should be having with your bookkeeper, your payroll company, your banker possibly, also healthcare and your insurance advisor, customers, and then employees. I'm telling you what, this is going to be a lot of info. So I'm actually was writing some of this stuff down, and I'm like, man, this is a lot of stuff that I've been doing and that I need to do before the end of the year. And so right now, most of us, for the most part, we're wrapping up with our season. Maybe you're doing a couple straggler fall cleanups that are left. Some of you guys actually did a couple rounds of snow plowing, which is exciting over in the Midwest and Northeast. But you know what? Yes, the fall and the winter is a time to recuperate, catch your breath, catch your stride, right? I'm all about that. However, there's a lot of important conversations that you should have before January 1st or December 30th or 31st, whatever it is. I don't think there's 31 days in December, but any which way, have these conversations. Actually, there is. I just looked at my phone. Shows what I know. Fact check myself. How about that? What I will say is have these conversations before the end of the year because there's certain conversations that you can have now, but you cannot go back and change the facts of what we're going to be talking about in 2020, for example, when you're trying to deal with this stuff in January, February, March, or April of next year. So let's just jump right into it. Here's the first one I have written down was your CPA. How are your taxes looking? Right? We can't go backwards necessarily on taxes. You can file an amendment. You can do some different changes, but it's a lot of time and a lot of money. It's expensive. And so let's do that. Before we close up the books for 2020 and we say, well, what's our tax bill going to look like? If you're just kind of putting a blindfold on your face and you are just having this little dart and you have this like target 20 feet out and you're about to throw the dart and you're like, I don't know where my taxes are going to wind up. We're just throwing blindly into the wind. You might hit the bullseye. You might be on the 10. You might be on the 25. Can I be totally honest with you guys? That's how I ran my business for about 12 years. And then we built a business team around us to help us out with this, including ditching my old CPA who was basically filing my taxes. There was no conversation. There was no tax strategy. There was no wealth strategy. There was no, long-term approach that we were taking to my business or my life. He wasn't a bad guy. Here's the thing. He was actually a super nice guy, just like your family, super nice people. But they might give you horrible advice. And that's just funny right there. But that was the case. My CPA wasn't giving me any advice that was on my pay grade or above. And all he was doing really was filing my taxes for me. Now, here's the deal. You might have a great CPA. You might also want to evaluate having a different CPA. The bottom line is let's have those conversations. And what the easiest way for me to explain this to you guys, as it was explained to me, is that when you guys start looking at filing your taxes in February, March, April, once they're opened up to file, you can't necessarily go back and look at the year in 2020 and make decisions in 21 to affect 2020. Okay, like how those chips lay or how the cards lay is basically what you're going to have to run with your tax plan going into 2021. So long story short, if you give all your data, all your info, all of your money, all your finances to your CPA and you say, hey, what can you do for me? And you're kind of rolling the dice going, ooh, do I owe $1,000 or do I owe 10 grand? Do I get back 1,000? Do I get back 10 grand? Do I owe 50,000 or am I keeping this 50,000? Whatever. I mean, there's all different pay grades that listen to the podcast. Long story short, have those conversations with your CPA. Now, if I can even give you a +1, this is something you're going to have to do as we move forward into 2021, but try to have a quarterly call with your CPA at minimum. And if your CPA doesn't offer that, find a different CPA. If your CPA isn't coming to you with those questions, ask your CPA, hey, I want to make sure that we have our GPS, our destination in mind, and I want to keep this real time. Let's do a dry run of our taxes. Where are we at? What are we going to owe? Liz and I, we do that monthly. Okay, it's a huge investment for me. I mean, I'm spending a couple $100 a month that, honestly, I've never spent that kind of money before on tax strategy. And I'm like, is this really necessary? Absolutely, because we were doing this month to month to month. It's kind of like a tidal wave for our lawn and landscape business. A lot of stuff catches up in the second half of the year. We had a good couple of months just with YouTube and a couple other things. So I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with this money. I don't know what to do with my lawn care business. Like, I want to potentially pay off my truck, or do I just keep that cash on hand? All these different conversations, right? So we had an hour-long powwow with my CPA, and we did. We figured out some tax strategy. There was different ways we were able to write off certain things. There were certain things we were able to do to spend money that I wanted to spend anyway. We just didn't know if I was going to spend it this year or next year, the Tesla. So a couple different conversations. And, to be totally honest with you guys, I was going to write a quarterly check for what some people make in a year. And I was like, not cool with that. I was sweating it. I was like, I mean, we had the money, but I'm like, that's my freaking money. And so that was one of the conversations we were having, was kind of doing a dry run of my taxes for 2020 and seeing where we're going to wind up. Now, wind up is not like, hey, just again, take the dice and roll them and see what happens. We wanted to be intentional. And when you're working with a good CPA, they can help you play offensive versus being defensive. So here's what I would encourage you to do. As we go into the last 3 weeks of December, work with me here. Put the pedal on the gas. Don't take your foot off the gas. Don't just coast into the end of the year and say, you know what, I did all my work, I'm done. Listen, the next 2 or 3 weeks can be extremely critical for how you end up paying for your taxes in 2020. Okay, a little bit of effort right now may very well save you guys $2, $5, $10, $20, $50,000 on your taxes. Have those conversations with your CPA right now. If your CPA says, hey, I'm busy during the holidays. We're doing the friends and family thing just like you are. Let's catch up maybe the first week of January, second week of January. No, that's a red flag. Don't have a conversation with that CPA. Find a different CPA. And I'm just being for real because, again, once December 31st hits, it's really, really hard for anybody to work backwards, okay? They can also help you with different election status. They might want you to be on payroll. They might want to help you adjust your payroll. Maybe you need to earn a smaller salary, maybe a larger salary. These are those kind of conversations where you just have those really quick with your CPA. Another thing with your CPA that I wrote down, and this also kind of correlates to the banker one that I wrote down, is right now, a lot of us are having the opportunity to prepare our forms to have the loan forgiveness for the not the SBA loan, but the EIDL and the PPP loan. So a lot of those applications are just now starting. It's been the 6-month grace period and deferred payment period that a lot of us don't have to pay back those loans if they're forgiven. Well, you can now start qualifying and submitting your paperwork. We are already doing that with my business and my CPA and the banker that we used to eradicate some of those loans, or I think like 85 to 90% of them are supposed to potentially be forgiven. But if not, at least I know where I'm at before I start going into the end of the year. So if you guys borrowed any of that money, the PPP, the EIDL, have those conversations with your CPA. I wrote down SBA loan, but that's not going to be really something that I'm going to dive into right now. Another one, estimated payments. Talk to your CPA. Make sure your estimated payments are made. If you're paying your estimated payments late, you might be subject to fines and fees. Right? So a lot of this has to be paid by January 15th for your last quarter, but how are you doing on third quarter? Right? There's been a lot of up and down with like taxes being deferred and this being deferred and quarterly payments not necessarily being, due at certain deadlines, a lot of extensions for a lot of things. Anyway, these are all under the CPA category. How are you doing on your quarterly taxes? Have you paid your quarterly taxes? All those are kind of conversations and homework I want to give to you guys to make sure that you're wrapping up 2020 strong. Let's see what else I got. Lastly, with the CPA, tax strategy prep for 2021. Okay. This was the other half of my conversation that I had with my CPA recently. And then we got another call here in 2 weeks is what is your tax strategy for 2021? And, you guys know I like getting political. I don't want to get political on the podcast. Obviously, I want to just keep it neutral. Talk about lawn care. That's what I enjoy. And I know some of you guys are like, thank God. But here's what I would say. Maybe your guy won. Maybe your guy didn't win. Maybe your guy still has a chance to win. Maybe your guy still has a chance to lose. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it. Here's what I will say. If your guy is in, what does your taxes look like? And if your other guy gets in, what are your taxes going to look like? Okay. Those are real serious conversations to have going into 2021. Run both scenarios. What are you doing right now to mitigate? If one guy gets in, are you going to expand and grow? If the other guy gets in, are you going to figure out how to slush your money and, take more deductions and, be more aggressive with your tax strategy to, minimize how much you earn? All real conversations. I'm not a CPA, but these are conversations that I'm already having with my CPA is, hey, what if this guy gets in 2021? What if this guy stays in 2021? What are we going to do? Okay, so I'm just giving you guys some general conversations, but listen, I'm not kidding. I've been working really, really hard behind the scenes to make sure that I have these conversations already, or we're going to in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. So I'm giving you a little bit of homework here. You might want to re-listen to this podcast later at night and just kind of jot some of these notes down. But these are really, really important conversations to have before the end of 2020. And again, I'm not really a big marching orders or here's your homework kind of guy. You're all adults. But I'm telling you, this is stuff that's saving you money. You might have done a great year, had a lot of success, but if you don't have one conversation with your CPA, possibly in the next 2-3 weeks, it might cost you 5, 10, 15 grand worth of taxes that you could have mitigated by just structuring things differently, taking deductions, maybe moving this, moving that. And it's like, well, you had a great year, but then the referee comes in at the end and says, nope, 5-yard penalty, move 5 yards back. And you're like, well, dude, that's not cool. Because you didn't understand the rules of the game. So you know who understands the rules of the game? Your CPA, your bookkeeper, your banker, right? So let's have those conversations and make sure that once the chips lay, wherever they may, that we're on the winning side, okay? Another one here is we're going to shift gears, talking about your bookkeeper. Bookkeeper, I'm not going to go deep on it, but just make sure your end of year reports are ready. Make sure that all those reports, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, we get ours monthly. All of mine, I get copied on it, and then also my CPA does. My CPA has a login for my bookkeeper and my payroll. Client services is like the generic email for our CPA firm, and they are able to pull reports real time for our monthly coaching call from my payroll company and also my bookkeeper. Okay. We use Skynar, SKYNAR bookkeeping up here in Livonia, Novi, Michigan. Give them a shout, Tom or Cheryl. Just tell them Brian sent you. There's not like any promotion or anything like that. I'm just, if they want to hire you on and vice versa, check them out. That's who we use. And, I've never even met them, but we've been using them for a year and a half and just incredible people. So what I would say is make sure that your reports are up to date. Call your bookkeeper and say, hey, how's my end of year reports looking? How's my month of November? How's my month of December? Is everything going good? And if they say, yeah, I hope to have all that finished to you by, January, February, that's not bad. But what I'd say is they're not on top of it. They're not running your books month to month. That GPS is a little off. That gyro is a little bit off. And you might want to start thinking about hiring a different bookkeeper, or for the love of God, getting a bookkeeper. That was probably the most transformative thing for me, was getting all my ducks in a row. And why do you have a good bookkeeper, by the way? Your CPA does your taxes based off of what your bookkeeper reports, right? So if your CPA gets bad info from your bookkeeper, how do you think your CPA is going to be able to do with your tax strategy in your tax plan? Very poorly, right? So you got to have a great bookkeeper, because that's the predecessor to having good tax strategy, as I understand it and as I'm working through it. Okay. I wrote down, make sure these reports are sent to your CPA. Make sure your team knows each other. Make sure your team is all on the same page. Here's a tip. Why don't you once a quarter, or at least once or twice a year, do a webinar, a Zoom meeting, or a Zoom call and have your team all on it so everybody knows who they are? Does your CPA know your bookkeeper? Does your CPA know your banker? Does your payroll company know your bookkeeper? Does your payroll company know your CPA? We have multiple group chat, what do they call them? Like email chains, where I'm copying everybody on everything. Frankly, when they start requesting stuff, I'm like, look, this guy has this and this lady has that. Y'all figure it out. Okay. And that's called building a team. And then I kind of like look at my stuff month to month, and I go, all right, I think we're doing pretty good. But this is the kind of stuff that works for me. This is just me being totally honest, transparent. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Make sure that all your books are wrapped up, tidied up, looking good. Talk to your CPA. If you're coming to your CPA with a shoebox full of receipts, Lord knows I was that guy for, I think 12, if not 13 seasons. Not the best way to run your business. Not an indictment. It's not the end of the world. But what I would have is some emergency conversation with your bookkeeper or your CPA and say, hey, look, all I've got is a shoebox full of receipts. Can you help me get organized? I know it's going to be, a deadline here 2 or 3 weeks before we wrap up the year, but we got to start making some sense of things. Can you help me out? And they might go to work for you. So that's what I would do, is have those honest conversations. Let's keep going. Hopefully you guys are appreciating this. A little bit different type of podcast. Some of them are interviews and having fun. Some of them are, dude, let's get down to business. Let's help you guys out. What do we got here? Your payroll company. Employee info is correct and updated. In fact, my employee, my payroll company sent me an email checklist. Dude, there was like 15 things. I'm like, how much could I really need to know, like, to wrap up my books? Well, there's like a 15-thing checklist that they had us send and sign off on. And I'm like, dang, like these people are on it. That is Partner Solutions Payroll is who we use out of, Brighton, 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 Michigan. And ask for Stephanie Gerkin, Gerkim, Partner Solutions Payroll. They do an amazing job. Hiring a payroll company is actually 10,000 times easier than I thought. It took like a week to get it set up, a couple of papers we had to file. It did take like 2-3 hours, but at the end of the day, it's a set it and forget it. We're good to go. But what I wrote down is make sure all your employee info is correct. Make sure like nobody's moved, nobody's status has changed, a bunch of different things. You know what? If you don't want to handle any of it, have your payroll company and your employee have a conversation, and have your payroll company do the conversation to make sure that everything is up to date. People move, lots of stuff that can go on behind the scenes, but that's the two big ones that I wrote down is if anybody moved, and make sure their contact info is up to date. Another one is if your payroll company offers 1099s, make sure you start getting your ducks in a row to send out your 1099s and your W-2s, obviously, and those for that first month of January for 2021. How much money did you work with your subcontractors? Do you have all your subcontractor info, all the paperwork in, all their reports that they're going to need to issue your subcontractors a 1099. Bedell holds my hand through that every year because that's all new to me the last few years as we get stuff like super buttoned up. I think we're getting pretty familiar with it now. Last year, it was such a breeze compared to just a few years ago. And that's because we hired a really good payroll company. One other thing I was going to say is have those reports sent to your CPA. Have your I don't know if it's your 940s or your 941s, have all that sent to your CPA, end of year payroll reports sent to your CPA. And again, your CPA is going to run your taxes based on all the info that they have in front of them. So make sure if you're having your payroll, if you don't have a payroll company, I don't know what to tell you, just tell your CPA, hey, here's all the checks I wrote to myself. I write myself $1,000 a week, or I transfer $1,000 a week out of the account. They'll know what to do from there, but have those conversations at least versus, your CPA running numbers on you making 20 grand when you really took and withdrew $50,000 out of the business account. Let's keep going. A couple more and then we'll button this up before you know it. Your banker. Again, have your banker and your CPA, make sure you guys are all talking to each other. I wrote down the EIDL, the SBA, the PPP. Those are important conversations to have because you have to use those funds from the PPP in a certain way, in a certain fashion, and in a certain timeline. So if you guys took the money and you want it forgiven, there's actual qualifications and requirements to make it eligible for it to be forgiven. All right. So talk to your banker, see if they need any final paperwork filled out or if they have the application ready. I would encourage you to not fill out that information personally. I would encourage you to have your CPA help you or fill it out with you or for you. All right. Other things that are low-hanging fruit. Your insurance advisor. This is a great time of year to revisit your insurance. I usually do that at least once a year, but I happened to have a conversation with our insurance agent and a couple things changed. As we go into snow, the season changes for us, and we wanted to put down walkway melt and ice melt for our residential clients. So I called my insurance agent and I said, hey, want to be honest with you, we're doing a couple different things. Of course, we've been doing snow removal for a few years. We wanted to make sure that ice melt and salting was included in our policy. And after a couple of conversations back and forth and a phone call back a couple hours later, we were qualified already, part of our current insurance classification, that we could put down ice melt. Well, awesome. So we were good to go there. But before we did, she wanted to have a little bit more reassurance with what we were doing. And they said to make sure that our rates or something didn't increase based on what we were doing, she wanted to see a copy of our contract. So we have a really good snow contract, definitely landscaper.com. And shout out to Mike. And what I did is I copied my insurance agent, who took that contract from Bedell that I made for our business, and then they forwarded it to the underwriter or whoever. And they said that contract is awesome. They said the hold harmless clause was amazing. They said like the limited liability for all these different clauses and paragraphs that we have on that contract and the commercial lawn landscape contract are awesome. So that really helps mitigate risk for us and also the insurance company. But one thing that my CPA brought up was, not my CPA, my insurance agent brought up is our how much insurance we have. She said, well, the next tier up is 1 mil to 2 mil. And for not much more money, you can get like double the coverage for like 15, 20% more. That was just based on our circumstances. And I said, well, put me out a quote for that. Let me know what it comes up to. A couple days later, came back and we bumped up our insurance coverage to the next tier up. It was pretty marginal to have almost double the coverage. Also, just so you guys know, this is a good conversation to have with your insurance agent. You do got to do this stuff once or twice a year. Here's my annual or semi-annual update that I'm encouraging you guys to do. Is our payroll changed? So for the general liability for our company and what we were covered for, our payroll changed for the year. It was like, before it was for, I think, not counting the owner, it was up to like $20,000 in payroll coverage. And that had something to do with the price we pay and the tiers and all this other mass and the classification. And what I did is I was like, no, like we have 2 employees, one's at full time, a little this, little that. I said, we're definitely going to be above that payroll number. And she goes, oh, well, that's going to change your rates. Obviously because, she's like, that's going to change your rates, obviously, because you're going to be paying them more money on payroll. And I said, yeah, absolutely. She goes, okay, well, let me adjust that and we'll see what this looks like. It was negligible. It was like $50 more a year. But you know what? We're covered. We're honest. We're on the same page. I don't want to try to pull a fast one on my insurance agent, my banker, my CPA, right? These are people to have extremely honest conversations with. Now, also, I'll say, don't ask an insurance agent if you need to buy more insurance or if you need to have more insurance because they're going to say yes. It's like an old joke. But make sure that you're covered. And for us, I called about the ice melt. We were covered with that. But then also that we were able to get more coverage for our general liability plan for not much more money, like the next tier up, which was, I think, 1 to 2 mil. And then before that, or maybe we got 2 mil coverage now. And then also before that was the payroll, because our payroll had changed because we hired more guys. All right, so have a conversation with your insurance agent. It's not something you have to do by December 31st, although if you guys are doing snow removal, revisit those policies now and especially as the snow starts to fall. All right, let's keep going. I'm trying to button this up by a half hour because the last 2 podcasts I've blown out of the water with only being 15 to 20 minutes. I forget the guy that tagged me on Instagram, by the way. One of you guys tagged me on Instagram and screen recorded the 15 to 20 minute part when I said on the previous podcast. And then Marty, Mr. Producer, comes in there and says, did anybody else look at the timestamp on the radio about how long this episode is going to be? And not only did Marty, Mr. Producer, start laughing, but so did the gentleman that tagged me on Instagram. And he goes, nope. It's like, it's never 15, 20 minutes. So I'm trying to get this info to you guys as fast as possible. By the way, if you guys appreciate this, don't forget the all-important 5-star ratings and reviews. If you guys haven't left a review yet, I don't know what else I can give you guys to earn your favor and your kind 5-star review. But if you haven't, look down at your phone. This is also something that you need to do by the end of the year to get done by the December 31st. Just having some fun. All right. Last 2 things I'm going to say is your healthcare enrollment. A lot of folks right now, this is a good conversation to have is your health insurance. There's going to be open enrollment for a couple different things, Affordable Care Act and other different insurance agencies and insurance plans, usually January, February, March. If you're doing a group share program, make sure that things are, just buttoned up there. but revisit and look at your health insurance this time of year. I kind of lumped this up into the insurance in general paragraph that I have written down here for things to look at. But this time of year, what are you doing for healthcare? Can you shop rates? This is the time to do it in the off season. Do this over the next 2 or 3 months. Look at group share options. If you guys are getting just stiffed with $1,500, $2,000 a month insurance bills, it might be an option for you. Another thing is talk to your CPA about your health insurance. Make sure that you're paying for your health insurance monthly out of the business. Make sure that if you're doing group shares, that it's tallied correctly on payroll and it's also tallied correctly as you're writing it all off. Okay. Let's see. Also, customers. Here's some things I was going to tell you guys to do with your customers. End of year balances. Make sure that you're finishing up all your books. Make sure you got all of your money in. If you have somebody still owed you, give them a stiff warning and a stiff final notice. Hey, Bill, notice that you still owe us $150 for whatever. We're trying to wrap up our books here before the end of the year. We also want to avoid having to add any legal fees or any late fees that are going to incur on this invoice if it's carried on past December 31st. Let me know if I'm able to stop by for a check. I can be available on Monday or Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Do either work best for you? And that's where you just finish it. If they say, oh, like checks in the mail, awesome. Well, I can stop by to grab that. Or if it's not here by, December 20th, I'm sorry, Bill, we're going to have to assess a $50 late fee. And if it goes past December 31st, it might go to collections or we'll put a lien on your house. Have those conversations. Wrap up your finances, wrap up your money. Okay. But wrap up your books, final fees and penalties. All right, that's for customers. Last thing I put is employees. Here's what I was going to say is have those conversations right now with your employees. You should have had these conversations along the way, but whether or not you're going to keep them on, whether or not you're going to let them go, when's their last day, when can they be expected to restart and return? Those are all conversations I have right now. By the way, talk to your payroll company and have those mature conversations about whether or not they're seasonal, whether or not they qualify for unemployment. There's different ways to categorize people that if you lay them off, they can get unemployment. If you don't categorize them a certain way, they can't get unemployment. The way you hire them on is you can have them collect unemployment and not collect unemployment. I'm not the scholar there. These are just different things that my payroll company has advised us on. Now, we intend to keep Rob on full-time. Dave was hired on as a part-time help. He'll be coming back on board in the spring, hopefully. But have those conversations with your payroll company, your guys. Are you going to give them a flat salary? Are you going to give them a flat hourly amount per week? What's the expectations in winter? Hey guys, we're not going to be working, but I still expect you guys to come in for 20 hours a week. Because I'm going to pay you for a certain amount, but I need you guys to come on in and organize the shop, sand down things, repaint stuff, do maintenance. All those conversations are things that you can have right now with your employees now through the end of the year. Okay. Last thing I wrote down for employees was end of season bonuses, gift cards, and then also cash bonuses. So talk to your payroll, talk to your CPA if you want. How are you going to take care of you guys if you have a little bit larger business? Are you going to give them end of year bonuses on paper? Which is fine, but they're going to lose a chunk of that. Are you going to give them, $500 Visa prepaid gift card? I know a lot of people do that to avoid having the employee take a hit on that on their taxes. Or are you just going to give you guys $500 cash or $5,000 cash or $1,000 cash? I don't know. Have those conversations with your payroll company and your CPA. Let them know what you're trying to do, and then, present that to the guys as bonuses. But don't just write a check for $500 out of the checking account. There's different ways to do all this, and this is all stuff that I'm doing as we speak. Okay, so that's what I got written down. Last but not least, let's go through the text message with Bedell, who is my brother from another mother. He said, do a dry run of your taxes from the prior year to the end, preferably meet with your team and ask for advisement. This was a good one. Review your numbers and analyze for strengths and weaknesses. Look for surprises. I like that. In fact, I did that with my media business. A little bit different conversation, but very, very similar is I looked at who brought in the most money. What brought in the most money? Was it affiliates? Was it brand deals? Was it sponsors? Was it training? Was it the podcast? It's a business. I'm like, what brought in the most money? Where did I spend time that made the smallest return, and where did I spend time, a little bit of time that made the greatest return? Well, I'm going to double down on what worked in 2020 to obviously grow and expand and double down on that in 2021. But I can't do that if I didn't analyze my business. And it was 45 minutes of me sketching some things down, looking through my checking account, looking through my QuickBooks and realizing, oh, well, this brand deal paid this and this, brand deal paid that. Why am I spending time with those people when I should be double down with these people, right? So same thing with your lawn and landscape company. Look at your services, look at what you were doing for a business, where there's certain accounts that, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your, or 20% of your accounts are going to give you 80% of the revenue. Well, let's double down on those 20% accounts that brought in 80% of the revenue. And what do they always say? Like, grow the top, dissolve the bottom. So analyze your business. Badell's always on top of that. Of course, that's why I learned from him. Review your short-term and long-term goals. I like that. Let's say you set a 5-year plan for 2020 into 2025 because you want to, move out of a dumpy apartment and you want to go build a 3-acre ball-in property. You're 1 year in. How is your first year going to parlay success into 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025? In fact, I'm 4 years into a master plan that I had set 5 years ago where my goal was to add $50,000 net to my income per year, 50, then 100, then 152, then 250. Okay, and we're on track. It's actually been a pretty fun run. But I'm 4 years out of a 5-year plan of me getting my crap together that I started 4 years ago when I jumped on YouTube. And I'm just being honest. How did this year play into, maybe you're in year 3 of that 5-year plan. Maybe you're year 5 out of a 10-year plan. Where are you at? I like that. That's a really, really good one. Set budget based on those goals. That's a really, really good one. I guarantee you I blew out my budget in March. Not because of the shutdown, just because I bought 12 grand of guns and ammo. Don't be hard on yourself for falling short. Next year is full of opportunity. That's a good one. That's Bedell being humble and just level-headed. Some of us had a great year. I just talked about this on a podcast, 2 weeks ago? Some of us had a great year and we're up. Some of us had a great year and we're even. Some of us had a great year and we're down. Some of us had a bad year and we're down. Okay, so don't beat yourself up. Again, I was talking to my friend Chase. Some of us, we're trying to just be the hero. We're trying to be amazing. We're trying to be awesome. And you know what? You're doing the best you can. Okay. And here's what I encourage you to do. If you made it to the end, you made it to the finish line, you did a great job. You left it all hopefully on the field and you gave it your best. Yeah, you could have got the ball 5 yards further. We probably all could have. But the reality is that you played hard, you played good. And you know what? Give yourself a pat on the back, dude. 2020 has been a crazy freaking year. And if you're still alive, if you're still kicking butt and you still got, friends and family and, count your blessings, right? So don't go so hard on yourself. Last thing I'll talk about is, Bedell said, review how we maintain our physical health. And I'll even add in their mental health and what we can do to look and feel better. That's a good one. Off season is a great time to start working out. Lord knows I need to lose the double chin and the gobbler. And then he also said, talk about your equipment. He said, talk about your equipment. Give an honest review about what things are doing for you and what they're going to do for you next year. I love doing inventory in the off season and then able to sell all that stuff at a top dollar in the spring. You got mowers sitting around, trimmers and blowers. Maybe you got workbenches or, tools. Maybe you got cameras and DSLRs if you're doing YouTube stuff that are just sitting around. I had $3 grand in cameras that I've sold basically in the last 2 weeks that were just sitting around collecting dust because I upgrade, then I upgrade, and I upgrade, and I, haven't sold any of it off, right? All right. That's what I got. That's what I got for you guys. I know some of you guys are like, holy cow, Fullerton kept it under an hour. And he said it'd only be 15 to 20 minutes. I know, not bad, right? 36 minutes coming in hot. All right, last thing I'll say is I just wanted to sincerely double down on the IsoTunes promotion. That's huge. That for me, I think that is the biggest sale that I can get for you guys from IsoTunes for the year. They did some 15 and 20% off Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales. But a BOGO discount of 100% is really, really good for the IsoTunes Pro 1.0s. Those are the earbud ones. They're wired. They're in the matte black. We wear the IsoTunes Pro 1.0s in the orange. Same freaking thing. The difference between the 1 and the 2s, by the way, The 2s have a little bit better shelf life. They have like the newer Bluetooth tech, which doesn't really do much for you guys. And then they also have the larger finger pad to, hit the next song, pause, all that deal. So a little bit larger in case you're wearing gloves was one of the revamps for the IsoTunes 2.0s. But I still rock my 1.0s. I had like 2 of them that they gave me. One was a sample we used for a long while. Eventually, I did crush it because I was walking out of my apartment door about a year and a half ago, pulled the door shut, and the earbud got in between the door jamb and the door and literally like liquidated it into a pancake. It just dissolved. And I was like, oh no, there goes my $90 headphones. So we have a backup pair. We've been rocking the 1.0s that they gave us a while ago. And seriously, 2 years into this pair, no issues at all. Just make sure you change the ear tips out once in a while. They get a little funky, every quarter they say. So go buy $6 worth of replacement tips and keep your ears healthy, both from what you hear and then also just the bacteria on those ear tips. It's, when they're sitting in your cup holder or in your pocket collecting leaf dust and all that other mess, maybe some cookie crumbs, gets a little gross, right? A little grody. So, all right, well, that's what I got. IsoTunes promotion, add to your checkout cart. Hit the promo code Brian's BOGO, and when you do 2 in the cart with Brian's BOGO, it will turn the second one into free instead of it being $69 or $70. Okay, that's what I got for you guys. Have these conversations before the end of the year. Wrap up 2020 with a banger. Make sure everything, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. This will give you guys the ability to capture and keep the most out of the work that you did in 2020, but then also parlay that success into 2021. All right, let's kick it over back to Marty, Mr. Producer, the best producer in the biz. Take it away.
Speaking of important conversations that you need to have before the end of the year, maybe it is time to book your one-on-one coaching call with Brian before he gets booked up for December. Now, you're going to get his undivided attention, personalized answers to your specific questions. If you're struggling in that whole mindset area, he can help you get that right to help your business grow. I love the fact that he's really big into providing actionable steps that you can implement immediately. And it could be with all the craziness of 2020, maybe that has taught you the value of having multiple streams of income. If you've been thinking about upping your game on YouTube or podcasting, Brian is certainly where I would start. LawEntrepreneurAcademy.com. Just click the link for the store and book your call now. And once again, thank you to Nick and the entire team at Dawson Manufacturing. Thank you guys for underwriting today's show. Expedite your productivity. Introducing CartMate Pro and RS by Dawson Manufacturing. This industry-leading front-mounted zero-turn articulating cart mounts to the front of the mower you already own, making you more profitable. With the ability to move mulch, leaves, dirt, and much, much more 2 to 3 times faster and dump your load effortlessly, you'll increase productivity while reducing labor costs. What could you do with the extra time? I'm sure your wife has an idea. Order your CartMate Pro today at mulchmateusa.com and never wheelbarrow again. That's mulchmateusa.com or text LaborSaver to 31996. That's LaborSaver to 31996 for exclusive deals, info, and maybe even some freebies. Normal text messaging rates apply.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.